All right, people, we are live on the internet, and if you're watching this right now, that means you're live and you survived the first debate. I, of course, am Dave Rubin, and I am joined by my friend Sage Steele, and we are doing this Sage Steele style with no shoes today.
No shoes, but I'm not going to show you my feet because I need a pedicure, so I'm just going to go like this, but thank you, what an honor.
That's how you do it on your podcast, and I thought, I'm doing your podcast in a couple of weeks,
yes,
so
I can't wait.
I thought this will ease us into that, but we just watched this thing upstairs in the movie theater, and for all the people that were watching this on a regular size TV, we had their heads literally bigger than our bodies. That alone kind of freaked me out.
I kind of found myself like shielding, looking for cover. Thanks a lot for your big movie theater screen.
All right.
But I thought that was important, actually, because the body language, all those things were important to pay attention to tonight.
Well, the body language, well, first, should we mostly just talk about golf? Because it was suddenly like after like 85 minutes, then suddenly they started looking at each other. They got excited about golf and like
critiquing golf swings.
Yeah.
That's when I was like,
and as a sports anchor, I mean,
I'm like, where are we?
Yeah.
I will say Trump has the edge with the golf swing if we're going to critique golf swings, just saying.
I don't really know what to make of this. As I said on the show this morning, guys, it was like the bar is so low with Biden and it's so high with Trump that's pretty much, I think, what we got. We're going to throw to a couple of things, but let's start with this because the main thing really, and everyone knows, we can analyze it, we can show you all the clips, all that stuff, but the main thing was Joe Biden even going to be able to finish a sentence? And right at the beginning, it almost ended before it began.
We'd be able to write without his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do.
Child
care, elder care.
That's the wide shot, and if you want to just look right to the camera, if you want
to.
Were we on?
Okay,
a single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President.
I mean, like.
That moment made me mad.
Yeah.
Actually. First of all, it's super uncomfortable, I think, for everybody. And I want to start with that. I've been saying this since I interviewed him in March of 2021, right after he took office, that it's actually a heartbreaking thing to watch. I don't care which side of the aisle you fall.
Yeah.
The human element of this, to see a failing man, is actually heartbreaking to me, number one. Number two, shame on Jake Tapper in that moment for saving him. Unfortunately, we need to be able to see all of this, and then you make your judgment based on that. But when you jump in and save him, it's wrong. And we all had been guessing and speculating as to what are they putting in his body to make him as alert as possible, just like during the State of the Union. So that was an unfortunate moment. It was interesting to watch Trump during that moment as well, too, because he looked and he almost seemed like, are you going to be able to answer this?
Well, he was kind of best Trump right there because he was just sort of letting it be. He didn't have to do anything there. And you're right. If Jake Tapper didn't jump in there and save him, it really all could have ended right there.
Yeah, that's not the job of a moderator, though. It's not the job.
No.
Stay out of it.
I would say it's completely the reverse of the job of the moderator. Is there anything even, I mean, we're going to jump into a couple other things here, but it really all boils down to just the Biden cognitive thing, right? Like, nothing that he said, there was very little that he said that was actually true, and you could see he just throws in all these words, and he's saying 80 things at once, and none of it kind of coalesces. But mostly you focus, and we were watching it with 5 or 6 other people, everyone's thinking the same thing, just Biden in the brain.
For a moment in your wonderfully comfy theater, I went back to 2008. And even though I did not vote for Barack Obama, I understood what many people did because he provided hope.
Yeah.
I would love anyone out there to write in and tell me one thing that you heard from Joe Biden that gave you hope. And even if it's one or two things, how about we just look at the track record, as my dad always said, over the last 3 years? What has he done that gives you hope that we will be better? I think that's the thing. So yes, all the different issues, and maybe there were some good points here or average points, but overall, I was uncomfortable as an American and as a human being watching this man struggle. And that has to be the number one thing that people take from it is who's competent, more competent. There's only about 3.5 years age difference between the two. Biden Biden in November will be 82. Trump just turned 78. I've never seen something that felt like a wider age difference, even though it's just 4 years.
Right. And also, it's not really about age in that you can be 85 and quite fit and competent and all of those things. He just is not at this point. There's something else clearly going on there. All right, so let's dive into a couple other moments. Well, actually, you know what? Why don't we show this first? Frank Luntz, who I make fun of this guy a lot because a pollster with the toupee seems very funny to me. But Frank Luntz, who runs these polls, these live polls as people are watching, he put up this tweet, and it was sort of interesting with the info he got back. He said, after the first commercial break, I asked my focus group of undecided voters how many of them are more convinced to vote for Joe Biden. 0 raised their hands. Half of them say they voted for Biden in 2020. It kind of gets to your point, like there's no hope there. There's no confidence. It feels very. David kept saying to us up there something to the effect of, it feels like this is all ending. Like this could be the last one of these things. This
the debates overall.
Yeah, that this broken machine that is handing us these two people, and I say that as someone that likes Trump, basically.
Right.
Like it's just there's something wrong about all this. But you could not have watched that and felt, oh my God, Biden should be in charge of everything right now.
100%. That said, just because the sitting president, I think most of us can agree, is just not in a good place health-wise, to say the very least. That doesn't mean that having debates should go by the wayside. I think they're as important as ever. It's the first time we've seen President Trump out there on stage. I thought it was uncomfortable from the get-go because there was silence. There weren't people there. The cutting of the mics, I thought, was brutal. That's part of this, is the back and forth and the interrupting, even if it gets a little bit uncomfortable there. By the way, with Frank Luntz, another thing that I thought was so interesting that he tweeted, and this was probably about halfway through, he said that he, polled the voters in the room, and they said that because Trump began to get vicious, those people are now less likely to vote for him. So we kind of get, inconsistent answers from the people that Frank Luntz was polling, but vicious?
Right.
I thought he behaved.
No, this was
well behaved he was.
I thought this, I tweeted out, I thought this was basically prime Trump. There was very little on the insulting. Yeah, a little bit. There's always a little bit, and then from where I sat, it was pretty warranted, but he did not do any of the crazy stuff. He was on point.
It's controlled.
It's
as controlled. Think back to 2016, which are some of my favorite moments, right?
Yeah.
When he's stalking around Hillary Clinton and like that. I remember dying laughing at that moment because of the intimidation, right? But he couldn't, towards the end, he started to, he wasn't able to help himself and get some of those zingers. And I think it's toughest when he starts to go, me, I. But then they both did. That's when you lose people. But overall, this was as well behaved as we've seen.
Which is also why the whole golf thing for that 2 minutes at the end was so bananas. You basically fell out of your chair because it was like they're cutting the mics. There's very little interaction. You barely got any of moments of them even looking at each other or acknowledging each other. Then suddenly golf game comes up, and then it's like fireworks. And then even the way CNN was going back and forth,
they allowed that.
Yeah, it's like golf.
Not for the important stuff. Just let it go from the beginning, and they wouldn't do that. And there were moments where, by the way, don't you think as moderators, and I've never done it, I don't want to do it. No, thank you. But
that means you probably should.
We've seen our friend Megyn Kelly do it a million times. And if you're up on your facts, you push back in those moments when you know there are lies being told. And later on in the debate, they did say, okay, now you have 82 seconds left to answer the actual question that I asked, and they still didn't answer it. So I was disappointed to see that they didn't push back more on Trump when he didn't answer about Israel. He didn't answer about how are you going to deport these illegal immigrants. We needed more of that, and that's what the moderator's there for, to get answers for us.
Right. They really, in some sense, they really weren't moderators.
No, they were question readers.
They were question readers, which is very congruent with what you told me about your interview with Joe Biden, which is that basically you were told you're going to ask these questions, do not deviate from that.
Yeah.
And then that is it. Phoenix, do we have the very fine people thing or no? No. The very fine people clip? So people saw it, so we don't have to show the clip, but I thought that was an interesting moment because Biden goes back to really, maybe outside of Russia hoax, the biggest lie of, I'd say, the last 8 or so years, this very fine people on both sides, Charlottesville thing. And he knows that Tapper has been in on the lie. But What do you think Biden's doing there? Do you think Biden actually believes Trump said very fine people without talking about the neo-Nazis and the what? Do you think he believes it, or
No.
he just doesn't know, or he just believes the machine will run cover?
The machine will run cover.
Yeah.
Why would he believe anything else?
No.
I mean, that's how it's been for decades, actually, but never more so than the last, well, since 2016, since President Trump took office. And the sad thing is that there are people who still focus on that, focus on January 6th. To me, there was way too much time spent on that. It's water under the bridge. There's just so many things that have happened that weren't good by President Trump, and certainly by Joe Biden as well. But I think that shows desperation, if nothing else, to go back to those things, even when you know that it's incorrect. I was trying to follow some of the fact checking that happens live. I'll be interested to see it tomorrow when it's fully vetted, and see if anybody calls them on that.
I'd like the fact checking on how many people have been raped by their in-laws.
And brothers and sisters. We all fell out of our chairs at that moment, too. I can't.
So I'm going to jump on with Megyn Kelly in a couple of minutes. But before I let you go, Sage, according to my paperwork here, you are black. You're at least some portion of you is black.
50%, yes.
Can you explain to me what a black job is? There seemed to be a lot of talk about black jobs. Are there certain jobs
you're going to get me in trouble again, aren't you? But wait, I can't get fired anymore.
You can't get fired anymore. You're free now. You're free.
Well, what did he say about, if you're black and you don't vote for me, you ain't black?
Yeah.
I ain't black, apparently, because it's not happening.
You ain't black.
I ain't black. Listen, I've been called worse. It's okay. It's okay. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, my friend.
The socks look great on you.
Thank you for the bottle of wine. And we'll have
happy
pizza.
birthday.
Oh, thank you. And I'll see you in LA in a couple weeks for your show. And then we'll do a much wider version of this. All right, hang tight, guys. Our stream is going to stay live. We're going to connect with Megyn. So there's probably about a 10-minute delay there. So if you just hang tight here, I'll be on with Megyn Kelly for about 20 minutes after that. And I hope you all survived and your drinking games didn't put you under the table and all that good stuff.
We needed it.
All right, ciao.
Dave Rubin is up next, Eric Bowling later, and we'll be taking some of your calls in just a bit. You can call me, 833-44-MEGYN. That's 833-446-3496. First, great. And joining me now, Dave Rubin. He's host of the Rubin Report. Dave, welcome back to the show. Your thoughts on what we just saw?
Lordy, Megyn. I don't know that I can do it much better than you did it just now, as I heard the last 10 minutes or so. But the only thing that this was about was Joe Biden's mental acuity or lack thereof. There's nothing else that we need to talk about, actually. We can talk about the lies and the confusion and all of that stuff, you know, the political part of it. But the simple truth was everyone that watched that debate in America was doing the exact same thing, going, holy cow, when is it going to break down? How's he going to break down? How is Jake Tapper or the mics being cut or whatever else going to run cover for him? And we saw them do it a multitude of times. That first moment that was in the first 10 minutes where he really started breaking down and mumbling, that could have ended it all right there, but Tapper saved him. And then, of course, just virtually everything he said was either the reverse of the truth or a confusion or a projection or just it just did not make sense, which Trump made a point of. So I can sit here and tell you some nice things about Trump. I thought he was controlled and measured for the most part. I thought he was on message and was, you know, particularly good at hitting things on immigration and drugs and stuff like that. But I think that the system just got the signal tonight. Joe Biden is toast. And, you know, you mentioned two pillars of this sort of, that there is Joe Biden's unfit ability to be president, which that has been obvious to everyone. The more interesting one is the second part that you talked about, the media part, and that Joe Scarborough clip that you played. We've played that on my show many times as well. And it's like, you're right, he wants to be close to power, but I would say there's something even slightly more nefarious than that, which is that these people, in effect, are paid to lie. Joe Scarborough has that job with his wife sitting next to him because they are paid to push that propaganda. Joy Reid, who apparently now post-debate is calling Obama people and they're like all freaking out right now, she is paid to lie. Now, she's not paid to lie to necessarily suck up to Biden that much because she's more on the progressive side, but she's paid to lie when it pertains to wokeness and DEI and CRT and the rest of it. So when you start understanding that, and I know you understand it as someone that came from cable news, then the rest of the picture becomes very clear. But I don't see how anyone in their right mind could have watched that debate. Even if you hate Trump and you have Trump derangement syndrome and you think all the January 6th stuff is legit and everything else, I do not know how one person in America could have watched that debate and thought Joe Biden is fit to be president. That is the only thing that matters right now.
No, so I'm looking for the people saying, no, you know what, you're being too hard on him. I'm not seeing it. In fact, I'm seeing some very different reactions I'm going to play for you in 1 second. First of all, let me show you this video. Here is video of Jill Biden guiding the commander-in-chief off of the stage. There she is up there, just like we've seen everywhere. She's got to go get him. Shame on her. Look at her. She's helping him down the steps. Yeah, shame on her. Dave Rubin, shame on her.
Let's not forget, Megyn, that Whoopi Goldberg thought that Dr. Jill Biden should be Surgeon General. Remember that one? She's not that type of doctor.
If only she really did have medical abilities.
Right. Look, All of it. Doesn't it feel like the system just finished him tonight? Like this was the last chance that maybe he could be drugged up enough to go ahead. I would say, the biggest loser tonight may not be Joe Biden, because I don't know that he even wants this. Who knows what's really going on in the recesses of his mind? The biggest loser of this might be Barack Obama, because it's fairly obvious that this has been Obama's third term, that Obama people are running the show here. Everyone knows Joe Biden. Yes, it might say his name on the desk in the Oval Office, but he has not been the president. The decisions are not being made by him. I don't even think he's privy to half of the decisions. He's signing things probably that he has no idea what he's signing. I would say that Obama got his third term, as Obama said years ago. Remember, if I could just not be the president, but have the mic in somebody's ear and all that. And Obama now probably has to escalate whatever the plan is to replace Biden. So, Gavin Newsom showed up there, the devil incarnate. He was on location over there at the debate tonight. We will see what they do. I heard your previous guest mention a couple other people. Now Gretchen Whitmer keeps being talked about, but they have a very thin bench and they have a very fractured party. And that's why, that I've been very focused on trying to take sort of moderate Democrats and people that have woken up to the lunacy of the left and encourage Trump to create the widest tent ever. And I think there's an opportunity for that, which again, we don't even really have to talk about Trump here, but that's why I was really impressed with him. He let Biden kind of break down. He did not go too crazy.
He controlled his facial expressions.
Yeah.
The golf thing was amazing. But wait, let me get to some of the reaction that's pouring in right now, because it's pretty extraordinary what we're hearing. You mentioned Obama. David Plouffe helped get Barack Obama elected. And here he is on MSNBC with Rachel Maddow. Listen.
President Obama's campaign manager in 2008, David Plouffe, is with us. David, I know you have been talking to some muckety-mucks in Democratic politics, including what we gingerly call the donor class. What was your personal David Plouffe take on what you saw tonight, and what are you hearing from the people you've been speaking with?
Well, I think consistent with your reaction, Rachel, and others on the panel, it's kind of a DEFCON 1 moment.
DEFCON 1. Here is John King of CNN with more.
Anderson, this was a game-changing debate in the sense that right now, as we speak, there is a deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic. It involves party strategists, it involves elected officials, it involves fundraisers. And they're having conversations about the president's performance, which they think was dismal, which they think will hurt other people down the party in the ticket, and they're having conversations about what they should do about it. Some of those conversations include, should we go to the White House and ask the president to step aside? Other of the conversations are about, should prominent Democrats go public with that call? Because they feel this debate was so terrible.
Buckle up, Dave. This is going to be a rough next couple of months, because the Democratic convention is now weeks away. It's in August in Chicago. And the Biden campaign is already trying to set it up such that the actual nomination will be done virtually weeks before that. So he's locked in as the nominee. What they'll do to stop it, I know not, but I think they're finally convinced.
What an absolute farce all of these people are. They have been running cover for Joe Biden. They have been running cover for this administration. They have pretended that we didn't see what we've all seen, the flubs and confusions and muddling and making and who's in charge. Remember, that's his other thing, right? When he takes questions every now and again, he'll start saying something and he goes, "Oh, I'm not supposed to say that. I'll get in trouble." Like, there's been so many red flags here. So many alarms have been going off.
They actually were calling us ableist. They were calling us ableist, right? Keep going. Sorry.
No, well, I'm not going to curse on the Megyn Kelly show, but I would basically say F you to all of these people. They have now put us in this situation where we are a month away from a convention, as you just laid out, and they are about to swap him out. So everything that we've been dealing with for the last year, in essence, thinking that it was going to be Trump and Biden, they are done with Biden. And they just put us through all of this, on top of the fact that, I think we could probably deal with it if the world was in a bit of a better spot. But we have this insane Russia-Ukraine war, non-war that we're funding, but we're not in, something like that. The Israel-Hamas thing is actually secondary now to a much bigger war that could blow up with Hezbollah in Lebanon, and that could bring in several other countries. Obviously, we're having economic problems here. Just look at the interest rates or go to the supermarket. Like, there's serious stuff. If things were just kind of working, then I think we could put up with, having a guy that was a little confused and everything else, and we would just joke about it. But everything you said a moment before I came on about the way his mouth was, the staring off into complete blankness, the sentences that went nowhere. It's enough now. If you've been pretending not to see it, if you're watching this and you were just kind of on the fence, you have to see it now. This is serious stuff at this point.
Here is Van Jones of CNN.
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all. And he looked, I'll give you the analysis. You kind of have the old man versus the con man. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that was not what we needed from Joe Biden, and it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain for what we saw tonight.
And one more, Dave. Listen to this. This just in from CBS News and Ed O'Keefe, the White House reporter.
There are at least some House Democrats who were gathered tonight watching this together, talking to the White House about having him step down. That's how bad it was in their view. Remember, House Democrats are on the verge of trying to get back the majority. They're nervous about doing that in places in these battleground states where they're going to need a strong top of the ticket. They may need to rely on a strong Senate or gubernatorial candidate, and in some cases they don't have it.
Step down before the convention?
Well, it would at least throw up somebody else instead of the president that debated tonight.
Dave, Biden's presidency, never mind his second term, is disintegrating before our very eyes.
Look, the truth is a time-release pill, and we are now seeing people who have laundered the lies and told us not to see what we see in front of us now being confronted with the obvious reality. They can all, it's interesting. Van Jones, he's sort of emoting there, and he loves him and all of that stuff. But it's like, dude, you knew. You didn't just magically see something that came out of nowhere. We have all known this. So you have all been part of it. And now whatever, they've all been given the signal. Oh, someone else is talking about it. Now somebody else will talk about it. Somebody else will talk about it. And we will get rid of him. And by the way, if you're Joe Biden, for whatever's left of Joe Biden. And by the way, I had two grandmothers that I lost to dementia and Alzheimer's related issues that I spent a lot of time with one of them, particularly towards the end, dealing with that and going to doctors. So for all the glibness that we can make of this, it's deeply depressing. But Biden should not have to spend his last few years in this situation. This isn't the right ending of any man being propped up there, which is why your comments on Jill Biden are totally right. But look, as this ship sinks further, the rats are going to scurry. And there's the other part of this, of course, Megyn, is that there's a huge scandal here. They have been drugging him, obviously. People know what's going on. There is some doctor that knows what's going on. Does Karine Jean-Pierre know? I don't know, but I guarantee you Jill Biden knows, and probably the chief of staff knows, and a couple other people. But now that the signal's out there and there's blood around him, in essence, somebody's going to break, and then it'll be like, I was the one. A couple months ago, I was telling everybody we had to do something about this. So we have completely, I would say, traversed into new territory tonight, and it has almost nothing to do with any of the issues that will fix America, and that's the deeply depressing part.
There will be piece after piece after piece in the papers now of exactly those people you just mentioned. I knew, I tried to warn. White House sources say they've been trying to warn people for months. And you're right, they'll start turning on each other. Because when you have Joy Reid and David Plouffe, right? She's the more woke squad dem, and David Plouffe is the more Obama sort of seasoned, whatever, distinguished. They're not exactly squaddy dem. And, the Van Joneses of the world all saying it's panic and he might actually need to step down. You have a genuine crisis on your hands. And the press will start printing those stories immediately, which will lead to just more feeding frenzy. And the only question is whether they can do it. Is there enough time? Oh, please. We're getting, oh, come on. Here's Jill Biden lying again.
Oh, Lord.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
Oh, my God.
It's like talking
She's
to a
talking
third
to him
grader.
like he's a baby. Yes, right. You have 2 babies right now. That's how you talk to them, is it not? You did all, you got all the, can we listen to it again? We need to listen to it again.
I actually don't talk down to them.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
Oh my God, Dave.
Unbelievable. Megyn, I do want to be very clear. I don't talk down to my children. I talk to them like adults. They're only about 1.5, but Justin will look at me sometimes and he'll be like, dude, I'm a kid. What do you, come on. But that is just so embarrassing, and she is so in on it. If you want to be angry at somebody tonight, like, we can be angry at all of the media people, but everyone in America really should be angry at Jill Biden. It's elder abuse what she has done in her quest for power, or whatever deal she has made with Obama or anything else. I mean, my God, you answered every question. First of all, that's not even true. He rambled incoherently.
Here's a statement from the Biden campaign on tonight's debate. Tonight, President Biden presented a positive and winning vision for the future of America, one in which every American has a fair shot at the American dream, where every one of our rights are protected, and where our president fights to strengthen our democracy, not tear it down. On the other side of the stage was Donald Trump, dark, backwards window, terrible, terrible, terrible. Trump's performance tonight reminded the American people why they fired him 4 years ago, and reinforced just how high the stakes are this November for the future of our country. Well, I agree with those last 4 words. You know, I mean, this is a pathetic attempt to spin like his positive vision. This isn't going to fly. For once, it doesn't seem like the media is going along, and they can't. They can't, because to your point earlier, they've been exposed. The jig is up. We've seen it. We've seen it repeatedly before tonight. The bullshit, not deep fakes. What is Karine Jean-Pierre? Cheap fakes. Excuse is not going to fly. It's a lie. They've been lying and spinning, and it's the country that's at stake. Shame on them all. Dave Rubin, my friend, so glad you could join us, and I'll give you the last word.
Well, I would just say, if you want absolute proof of what you just said right there, think about it. When they talked about the very fine people moment, which is a complete hoax, and Trump addressed it as a hoax, Biden still was pretending it was real. Jake Tapper, who many, many times on his show over the years has said it was true. If Biden had not completely broke down tonight, all of the people that we just showed from CNN and MSNBC and everywhere else, they would have still been laundering that lie. So it's not that they won't lie. It's that now it is so evident, it is so cataclysmically evident to everyone that they are going to have to either lie in a whole new way, or who knows what tricks they have up their sleeves. But I think the dam has broken, and we're in a very different situation starting right now.
Yeah. I think you mean Jake Tapper has admitted it's not true. He's on record as saying this is, at least I saw a clip of him saying it's much more nuanced than you're suggesting. But that lie about whether Trump called white supremacists in Charlottesville very good people has been debunked over and over. It was amazing Biden took that risk. It truly was as if he hadn't seen. Yeah, it was truly like he hadn't seen the fact checks, including one that just came out the other day, which I just tweeted out tonight if you want to check my Twitter feed. Dave, thank you. Great to see you.
Good to see you, my friend.